Okay.
Okay, so what this meeting is I'm going over my plan, kind of my AELC that I plan to do with Leslie about something that, you know, we're kind of doing a follow-up on. And I'm going over my plan with you before I actually do the training.
Okay.
So I had asked Amanda, because it said, yes, that we were going to do the same training again with some of the tips that we had learned.
Right.
Well, my training that I had originally done is done.
Okay.
It was a very simple kind of training. So I had asked Amanda, can I train another simple kind of training to someone else? And she had said yes.
Okay.
So what I have done here, Carolyn, is my goal for today is to go over my AELC that I put together and make sure that I'm covering everything I need to before I train Leslie.
Okay.
That sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. One of my main things, and I'll tell you up front, is I do not pause.
Okay.
And I do not take breaths. So
Okay.
if you would feel free to go pause a little, that would be great, because it's in capital letters from my laptop.
Okay.
So the plan I put together for Leslie is I want to have a training with her to make sure she has a good understanding of what she does with a host that pertains to myself and learners for a particular certification, and to make sure what we put in place actually works.
Okay.
Does that sound?
Yeah, so it sounds like you're wanting to clarify what she does with the host, what you do with the host, and making sure that it's working the way it's intended. Is that
correct?
Okay.
And honestly, one of my goals, which I'm not going to reveal to Leslie, but one of my goals is I think we've got two things in place that we had mistakes on. We had two final certifications at the end of 2018, one in Phoenix, one in Chicago, of what she would do with the host and what I would do with the host. And we had a couple of issues.
Okay.
And so my thought would be, I'm thinking, if our goal is that she does everything with the host and I do everything with the learners, then why are these two things still in my bucket? I think they should really be in her bucket based on what happened. Now, I guess my question to you, should I reveal this in the beginning of?
Yeah, you know, and this is kind of one of those know your agendas. Do you know you can show it, or do you put it in your back pocket, you know?
Right.
So what I would wonder is how you might tease that out, maybe early on, without necessarily throwing that out on the table as plainly as you did with me. You know, wanting to help her discover that.
Right, which I believe is, yeah, that's my problem, Carolyn. I just go straight to the bottom.
Yeah.
Here's what it is. Hey, what do you think?
I'm similar, so I can relate. You know, it's like I want to get right to it and just say it out loud. Let me ask you, do you think she has awareness of these things that happen that you think should result in a change? What do you think her level of awareness of that is now?
Well, just as an example, Chicago, we were full. We were actually at 23, and then I had 2 people who were just finalizing their payment.
Mm-hmm.
But I had closed the certification at 25.
Mm-hmm.
And then Leslie sends me an email and says, hey, did the host register the person she wants to send? I was like, oh, no. So I went back through and I looked. Well, Leslie had told me the month before in this 15-page email to the host.
Mm-hmm.
Christy, she said to the host in this email, Christy will reach out to you to give you a code for the person you want to send with your discount.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't catch it.
Mm.
I never saw it, and we never discussed it. That email has so much information that to me it's for the host. It's not necessarily for me. I mean, shoot, I wrote this stupid email 3 years ago.
Right.
So I just file that email until it's time for me to pull different parts and make sure I have all the information I need. So I missed it. And, you know, Leslie was like, here's my email I sent to you last month. Here's where it says you're going to reach out. And I was like, oh. And we did. I reached out, the host, the person signed. Now we're over our 25.
Yeah.
And I was like, ugh. And the room really wasn't big, really, for us to
be able to do that. Yeah.
So in the training, my thought is, I love the idea you said I should try to tease it a little bit in the beginning, and that's exactly what I was going to say. Use it as an example. Chicago with this email, I didn't read the whole email. I missed that. And what I wanted to talk to her about was, I'm wondering, should I kind of jump into my AELC of what I've written down, kind of what my plan is?
Yeah. Why don't you do that?
Okay. So in looking at, you know, like I've written it down, I've got what I'm doing, and I'm also not one of those flexible people. So I have my cue sheets beside me, so if we go off my script, which you can plainly see in prior emails, I mean, in prior recordings, if we go off the script and I'm like, So I'm working on that as well. But so looking at like the experience, that's kind of when I thought I would bring up, hey, I was thinking we could talk about the Chicago certification and some of the things that happened with you being in charge with the host, and then what I'm supposed to do with the host. Do you know, is that okay? And do you remember this? And so that was kind of going to be my experience. Does that sound, I mean, I'm kind of teasing, but I'm not giving her my whole agenda because I want her to kind of see. Do you think that sounds like a good plan?
Yeah. I think if I was hearing that from Leslie's perspective, I would probably automatically jump to, something wasn't right.
Okay.
You know, something, what's happening here?
Okay.
You know, not to say that's bad, but it would, you know, it would probably get my antenna up to go, ooh. So in fact, I even say, why did something, was there something that you didn't like about it, or do you think something went wrong?
Okay, that's a great point. What I had written down was currently, as of the experience, the other part was currently I give the host, you let the host know I will reach out to give them codes, and then I reach out to the host and give them the codes. So that is what happens. That's currently what happens. And I'm wondering how, I don't know. I think Leslie would be able to handle that. Maybe her radar might go up, but I think the purpose of the call is to talk about what happened and is that good, or should we change it moving forward? Do you think I could change it a little bit, or do you think that is just, I'm putting it on the table and here's what we're going to talk about? What are your thoughts?
You know, I wonder if, kind of backing up a little bit and saying something to the effect of, and you have to wordsmith this, but something to the effect of, I wanted to go over a couple of our past certifications, or one of our past certifications, to just kind of do, just to explore kind of what's working well and what maybe could use a little polish or tweaking, just so we kind of stay in that format of, so let's talk, kind of things went well, and there's some things I think we could improve. And,
I like that.
Yeah, and then, start off with the web. So let's take the Chicago one, for example. What do you think went really well about that? Well, it was full. It was, from our perspective, from the way that we work together and organize and all that. And why don't you go and then I'll go? So that's really the experience, is kind of going through that. Two things really well, and one thing that maybe is an area of opportunity.
Okay.
And then if she doesn't mention the area of opportunity that you're thinking about, then that comes on your list. So so then okay, so here's, those are great, you're going to respond to her as she lists her things. Mm-hmm. Then you're going to put out your things. Yeah, so I agree with you. These things are really well. I think the one area that I know I personally struggled with a little bit was, I think I got lost in the mix, was the coupon code for the host. That for me, for me, that was the, maybe the one loose end that I think I'd like to try and tie up. Now it would be interesting, obviously the little hitch that comes with that approach is if she brings up something that totally you didn't realize, that.
I know. And that was a big thing I was thinking, is like, I'm going into this training with some, what if, some unknowns. So I guess in a circumstance that's normal, right?
Right. And you could always say, as you're go through this kind of discovery process with your AELC, if she brings up something that didn't go so well from her perspective that you hadn't thought about, acknowledge that and figure out a way to maybe get through that. Even say, I hadn't thought about that. I'm so glad you brought that to our attention. Let's think about, a way that we can. Right.
That's when I'm going to use my cue sheet, and I might not even go to this right away. So I want to be flexible.
Exactly. So you might have to explore that thing that she brings first, but then you want to transition to you too.
Right.
In that idea that this is what you notice. This is what,
Right.
So thank you for sharing that, Leslie. And you know what? Let's figure out a way. Maybe we can set up a meeting to work through a change in that particular area that you brought up. Now, it would be absolutely magical if she brings up the same thing that you bring up as a thing.
Right.
If that happens, then it's like, boom, you're set right up to move into that. If it doesn't happen, you've got to find a way to transition to that. So that you can even say, I've thought about this a lot, and I've actually prepared a little something for the area that I feel like we may need to tie. Yeah. And then, recognizing that her need you know, maybe a little bit
Right.
different than yours, but what you prepared
Right.
for is the
Okay.
one thing.
And is it okay if I say that, you think? If I say, these are great, Leslie, I mean, maybe we should set up a little meeting and work through that.
Mhm.
And, you know, so we can come prepared. We both can come prepared with how to solve this issue. And then would it be all right if we kind of talk about two good things and maybe one thing we could improve upon with myself, and then let's see how we need to move forward with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I think it would be you know, what are you going to call the meeting? When you set up this meeting with Leslie, what does she think she's signing up to talk?
Well, she just took over the host so working with the host, let's say Leslie does these 5 things. She then passes the relationship to me, and I do these 5 things.
Okay.
And then at the, you know, the last quarter of 2018, we decided, you know, Leslie will take on these 8 things for the host. Then she will pass on just briefly for Christy to do these 2 things.
Mm-hmm.
And let's revisit in 2019 after we've got 2 certifications under our belt. We'll revisit that again, see what worked and what didn't work, and then let's see how we can adjust it or keep it the same. So she is aware that something like this is coming, and I've even told her, hey, it's 2019. Could we set up something, you know, after the rollout of the new website, and let's talk about the host duties to make sure it's going correctly. So I've even planted that seed.
That's perfect. Yeah. So
okay.
That's perfect. You know, so again, you start off with, well, so what do you think worked well? 2 things. What do you think, you know, we might want to explore further? You go first, and then I'll go. And
yes, I like that.
Yeah, and if she says something in hers that seems like it might require a lot more discussion and or work associated with it, then you've got to have a plan for it. Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, whatever. We're going to set aside a time to work on that. And then let's move, then I'll share mine. So you say up front, you know, let's do your list and then do my list. And I've actually prepared something for mine.
Okay.
And that way it will set the expectation. But you might spend the first 10, 15 minutes with her stuff. Yeah, with her. You know, so just acknowledging that in your time frame.
Okay. So definitely, yeah, I want to make sure, and maybe I'll even, with the invitation, with the Zoom invite, maybe I can even say that.
Yeah.
Kind of talk about it, and why don't you even think of maybe 2 things that went well, and 1 thing we should explore further. And then if it's okay for this particular Zoom, we will perhaps set up a meeting to discuss yours that we can improve better, but I'll come prepared with something for mine that we could do for this meeting. How does that sound? So I can even do that in the Zoom invite. Okay, I like that.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
So I would think that I would go through my 2 good things, and then I would share the one that I think we can have room for improvement on, or, you know, maybe we could explore this further to see if we could just improve on it. And my share, I'm sorry.
Time out real quick. So when you do your share, when you say, okay, so these are my 2 things that I felt, you know, went really well, and here's one area where I feel like it didn't go as well or as smoothly as I would like. How would you like her to best be able to see that?
Process.
Yeah, I mean, would it be, you could obviously just put it out on the table and say, this, we had 26 people and really, or however, you were actually over the limit. And
Okay.
created, the room size itself was not amenable to that. I mean, that's a lot of people. So you could be direct in that, or you could have her somehow, get to that.
Well, she was very aware of it, and I kind of thought about this. So I kind of thought about, my experience is she's gonna kind of tell me 2 things that went well and 1 area of improvement, and then kind of I will then tell my 2 things. And then as far as the share, I would like to put up the actual email from Chicago from her to the host and just say, how do you think this email was received? What are your thoughts? And kind of look at the email, and then of course I would then focus in, well, just that one thing I didn't think went as smoothly. Is this part of your email, on paragraph 16? Of course, I won't say that because I wrote the email anyway. But, on this part, how do you, I don't think this went as smoothly. I mean, what do you notice about this email? Because I want her to see that it's way down and it's kind of hidden.
Yeah.
And we have briefly talked about that. How we're, without me reading every email you send to the host, how am I going to find specifically things that relate to me? And we talked about it. And so she is going to come to that and realize, that is what we've talked about before.
Yeah. So if, so saying something like without a whole lot of prefacing, and you email up and say, so what do you notice? What do you notice? And you may say, well, it's really thorough. Yeah, it sure is. And long, has a lot of parts to it. Yeah.
Right.
And so what about this? Why do we use this email? What's the point of this email? Or what's the purpose of sending this email? Again, trying to tease out the fact that, for me, you're trying to communicate, you're using this email to communicate whatever it is you're trying to communicate. And with it, the really important parts, and see.
Right. It's a very important, it's very needed for Leslie and the host.
Right.
But it's not as important to me because, it's important to me, but not for my everyday job.
Right.
So that was kind of my my share with exactly what it is, and then moving kind of into the process. After we've talked about, the email. What do you notice about this email? I then wanted to move into are there other possibilities in giving me information? Or, what do you think is another way to see? Now, I wrote that question down, but then I've been thinking about it because there are other possibilities, and we talked about the possibilities. Maybe I should start it this way. We've talked about other possibilities of you sending me a second email or responding to say, hey, Christy, in the email below I sent to the host, I've specifically told the host you will reach out and give them a code because they have someone they want to send. And at this point, I kind of want to say to her, I'm wondering if there are any other possibilities we could do at this point. And the reason I want to ask is because the codes are set. There's really no reason for me to be involved at that point. She can send the host in this original letter, here is the code for $500 off. Here is the code for, you know, thank you to you for hosting us to bring someone. She can go ahead and give the host at that point the code. And that's what I want to get across. There isn't a reason for me to be involved in that because the codes are the same for every certification. There's no reason why she can't give it out. So that's what I'm hoping that we'll try differently is she'll send a letter and give the host the codes, and there's no reason for me to be involved at that point. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. So, you know, as you say that, I'm wondering how you might just cut to the chase on that, you know, to even just say, you know, and that you might share. I'm going back to the AELC and I'm thinking, if you share that email and you say, what do you notice about this email? You know, and I can share with you. It's almost like you're sharing back and forth in this AELC. I will share.
Right.
Does she know that? Is she aware that they had 26? Did you tell me that? Is she aware you guys went over as a result of you?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's aware, but I don't think she's aware that the host code, I think she's, you know, we had set it up originally years ago. I would be the only one to pass out a code. But the circumstances have changed.
Yeah.
You know, she deals with the host.
Right.
And why am I giving you? She can just give the host code. It's the exact same in every certification because that's the way it's been set up.
Right.
So I don't think she's aware that she can put it in that email. Here's the host code. Thank you again for hosting. Here is the code for, you know, here's the information. I send out a 3 little line paragraph of how to register, and she can just forward that to the host. The host can forward it to the person who's gonna register.
Right. Yeah.
Going to register.
Right.
So
yeah. So I'm wondering then if you might approach it in a way of just simplification. You know, when you go in, instead of focusing on maybe what was missed, focus on, you know, so you still go notice the email. There's a lot of steps in this email. And what does somehow get it to the point of the host is still going to now get another email. So,
yes, I love that simplification.
Yeah.
That is a great way to start.
Yeah. So
In the beginning.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there was a way we could simplify this process so that the host gets what they need in fewer steps. Right?
I like that.
And one way we could do that is, you know,
Okay.
The code could actually be in this email.
Right.
So that the host is not having to wait for another. Because, you know, maybe the notice part is, what do you notice? You know, there's a lot of steps to this process. And
yeah, I like that.
is there any steps that we can eliminate to make it just, again, fewer steps? The one step we can totally eliminate. If she doesn't bring this, you could say, you know what? Well, I can tell you a step we can eliminate. We can eliminate me having to communicate to the host one more time with this code. We could just put it right in that letter. You know?
We could just put it.
Right.
Okay, I like that.
You know, so.
And then, so that's kind of going through the experience, the share, the process, the connect. Would I say, do you see any other possibilities or any other things you might simplify in this email? And then the apply would be, so great. Why don't we try it with the next certification with you putting your, please copy me on the email because I should still get the email.
Mm-hmm.
But why don't we try you putting in the information in the email? How does that sound?
Yeah.
So does that sound good?
Yeah. Yeah, you might say, because you said you have like a little 3-line or whatever, little verbiage around what the coupon code is. So, another apply might be,
Right.
how about if I send you what you could insert into the letter? What you could insert.
Yeah, and
send that.
okay, and I could actually even have it already because it's that simple.
Yeah.
Okay.
So does that sound like it would work?
Yes, I like that. So do you think, see, again, I feel like I'm doing a circle there and we're going to come back around. And I mean, I like that. I mean, you'll notice all the red are things that you said, and I've added them in, and I really like that. So I feel good about it. I'm going to write it up again and set up a meeting with Stephanie. So.
Okay. Well, I think that your plan is a good one.
Okay, good.
Provided a really nice base, and we just put a little polish on it.
Little polish. So what I'll do is I will put the email together, and like I say, I wanted this quick AELC to really be 6 or 7 minutes. I mean, I really wanted it to be a shorter process because we've done this before with Leslie. I'm just kind of showing her, hey, in this email, why not add it right here, and for her to understand that it's a possibility. So I guess what I'll do is I'll set up a training with Leslie. I'll let you know what part of the plan we did, and then if you could maybe view that video, and then we would meet again to go over the rubric.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I think that's what we're supposed to do. Very good. Awesome.
Okay, well, I'm learning. Normally I would just call up and go, hey, do this, and let me know how it works.
Yeah. So I am similar. I've had to really rethink how I go about doing, this type of communication and this type of work. And as much as it adds some time, it really does tend to work better, for sure.
Well, what I've learned is the way I do it, it works. But it works for that day and that process. When they do the process the next time, or they do that part the next time, they don't do it. We talked about because they never processed in their head why we're doing it differently. And I've noticed that several times, and I think, oh my gosh, if they've got to come to it, I can't tell them what to do. They need to understand why this process might be better. So thank you, Carolyn.
You're welcome, Christy.
That was great. I hope your mom had a good time setting up and that you find her. And I really appreciate this. And we'll just get together again. We'll see if Amanda keeps to her, let's have all this done by the end of January.
Right.
Well, she has a lot on her plate.
She does. She sure does.
Okay, well, happy New Year.
Yeah, same to you. Have a good rest of your day, okay?
Okay, Carolyn. Thank you again.
Welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.